To order, call toll-free 1-800-257-1257 to save all COD charges and pay only $19.98 for records or cassettes or $24.98 for CDs, plus $4 shipping. Use your credit card or send check or money order to Slow Dancing, P.O. Box 8250, Atlanta, Georgia. Remember, save COD charges by sending check or money order or use your credit card.
This is CNN.
Protesters shake up Munich as the group of 7 leaders meet for their annual summit.
The astronauts on the shuttle Columbia will be staying around for a few more days after putting their names in the record book.
And jazz saxophonist Grover Washington Jr. heads off in a few different musical directions. This is Early Prime. Hello, I'm Lou Waters.
I'm Sharyl Attkisson. Also ahead, the sluggish economy convinces a growing number of college grads to become volunteers.
And in sports, baseball's commissioner orders 4 teams to switch divisions.
Here's what's happening. The Democratic Party is putting up a united front as it prepares for the opening of its convention a week from today. The Bill Clinton campaign today gave a plum convention assignment to somebody that Clinton hasn't always gotten along with, New York Governor Mario Cuomo. Next Wednesday night, Cuomo will formally nominate Clinton for president. Until today, Clinton had not come up with a role for Cuomo, who, after all, is the governor of the state in which the convention is being held. Cuomo insists he was not lobbying for a big role.
My position is very simple and uncluttered, and I tried to keep it that way. I tried to make academic whether or not you were asked to speak by saying, I prefer not to speak, I don't expect to be invited, therefore there can never be any question about my being offended at not being invited because I'm the governor of the state, and shouldn't the governor of the state be... I made that all academic, and it worked perfectly in 1988. Nobody did a story saying the governor didn't speak. Nobody. That was only 4 years after I gave a keynote that was fairly well received. But nobody made a story of it. I did the same thing this year.
Clinton and Cuomo have a history of stormy relations, but recently they have taken pains to be nice to each other in public. Clinton, for example, has said Cuomo would make an excellent U.S. Supreme Court nominee.
New York, of course, is a heavily Democratic city, but so far New Yorkers seem a bit uneasy about Bill Clinton. A poll taken by Gallup for New York Newsday shows that in a 3-way race, Clinton would win in New York, but would fail to get a majority of the vote. If Ross Perot is removed from that equation, Clinton does better, but still falls short of a majority. The poll has a margin of error of plus or minus 3 percentage points. A construction crew working for Ross Perot reportedly blew up part of a coral reef in Bermuda so that Perot could park his yacht closer to his vacation home. The report in Time magazine indicates Perot's construction team failed to get a proper permit. Today, a Perot spokesman called the incident minor and said Perot was not in Bermuda at the time, but the magazine quotes an eyewitness who says Perot watched the explosion underwater in scuba diving gear.
Dumped and quail. That's the message from the majority of Iowans surveyed for the Des Moines Register newspaper. 54% said President Bush should name somebody else as his running mate, and only 37% said he should keep Quayle. The vice president's performance rating showed similar results. 36% approved, 58% disapproved. The first day of the economic summit has ended in Munich, Germany. Western leaders, including President Bush, are working on 2 key issues: economic aid for Russia and keeping the relief pipeline open to Yugoslavia, possible with military action. Political action in the streets of Munich led to the arrest of more than 400 demonstrators outside the summit site. Some protesters broke through police barricades, but since then, 9,000 police have kept order in Munich.
First Lady of France, Danielle Mitterrand, says she is in perfect health after escaping a bomb explosion in northern Iraq today. The device went off near her motorcade in the town of Sulaymaniyah, reportedly killing 4 Iraqis and injuring 19 others. Mrs. Mitterrand is on a 3-day visit to Kurdish refugee camps in that region. Her support of Kurdish autonomy has been denounced by Baghdad as a rude violation of Iraq's dignity, as the government put it. No one has claimed responsibility for the bombing today, but the French government has condemned the attack in what it calls the strongest terms. Japan is acknowledging that it recruited Asian women to serve as prostitutes for its soldiers during World War II. A top official today offered a government apology for what he termed the women's indescribable pain and suffering. But he said Japan will not offer compensation to the survivors because the so-called comfort women were not coerced into working in the brothels. But in recent months, hundreds of Asian women, mostly Korean, have testified they were forced to accommodate Japanese soldiers.
President Bush may be about to name a woman as the next Secretary of the Navy. According to Newsweek magazine, Mr. Bush is considering Representative Beverly Byron and Barbara Pope. Pope is Assistant Secretary of the Navy for Manpower. Since Lawrence Garrett's resignation in the wake of the tailhook scandal, Dan Howard has been acting Secretary of the Navy. In an interview with CNN's military affairs correspondent Wolf Blitzer, Howard says the Navy is busy getting itself shipshape when it comes to sexual harassment.
Looking at two different things here. One is an investigation of possibly criminal behavior at tailhook and the assault cases. The other is a standards of conduct, a standards of behavior issue. And there we add people who, as I said last week, engaged in stupidity. We will relieve people for that kind of stupidity, and we have to put that message out as well. There are 4 people who have now been relieved at Miramar. Those actions were taken by the Chief of Naval Operations, who's charged with good order and discipline in his ranks. The investigation with regard to the assault is being reviewed by the Department of Defense Inspector General. They've asked us not to take any further action until they've completed their investigation.
26 female Navy officers alleged they were sexually assaulted by pilots during last year's tailhook convention in Las Vegas.
The Columbia astronauts are comparing their record-setting shuttle mission to an extended campout. Carl Meade says he can't wait to take a shower when he gets back to Earth. The research team has been in orbit a record 11 days, surpassing a previous record of 10 days, 21 hours, and 1 minute. CNN shuttle expert John Holloman joins us now with an update on the mission. John.
Well, can you imagine what it must be like to go that many days without a shower? The Columbia crew has gone around the world 179 times in the past 11 days, and it's going to keep spinning until it tops 204 orbits. On board right now, astronaut Larry DeLucas is ready to take some of the protein crystals he's been growing and mount them for the bumpy ride back to Earth. The astronaut crew did something 7 hours ago that made history. They broke the time record for a shuttle in orbit. A few minutes after they broke the record, Mission Control in Houston gave them the news.
In honor of that record-breaking performance as we go over the hill, we'd like to leave you and the crew with this 1960 hit entitled Stay. Stay. Just a little bit longer.
Thanks, Sam. We enjoyed that. We found that twisting is about the only thing you can do without going out of control up here.
At the moment they made history, the crew didn't seem to notice. Larry DeLucas and Bonnie Dunbar were testing the negative pressure suit that sucks fluid from the head and upper body into the legs. It's supposed to help DeLucas and Dunbar, who was also spending time in the bag, adapt better to Earth's gravity after they land. Astronaut Carl Meade says although he's having fun in space, he's looking forward to coming home. At the top of his wish list?
The shower, for sure. But the physical aspect of this is not very demanding at all. Actually, it's the mental that I think challenges most of the people. This is rather like an extended camp-out trip, if you know what I mean, so it's not really that bad.
Payload Commander Dunbar is helping to pack away some of the experiments. She had to climb inside the glove box above the crystal growth furnace to disconnect some of the parts. Dunbar may be the only astronaut small enough to do this. Commander Dick Richards says the newly refurbished shuttle is proving itself as a long-duration spaceship that allows much better science research to be completed. The astronauts have all taken a 4-hour vacation about halfway through this flight, and if they can get packed in time, they might even get more time to look out the windows and down at planet Earth. The landing is now scheduled for Wednesday morning, just after 9 o'clock Eastern Time at Edwards Air Force Base in California. CNN will be here with live coverage when it happens. Lou, Sharyl?
All right, John.
A brush fire continues to roar across the hills east of L.A. Police think it was started by 3 men. We'll tell you how.
Also ahead on this early prime, some college students are taking off their caps and gowns and putting on work clothes. We'll tell you what that's all about as we push ahead.
CNN's Early Prime, news and information for people in the prime of life.